Good evening and welcome to In the Crease. I'm Fiore along with my co-host Bob Nelson. And as we're taping this, the first game of the Stanley Cup Finals has not started yet. So that'll put you in perspective as far as time is concerned.
Thank you, Gary Bettman.
Yeah, right. But we do want to talk about the Cups. Bob, do you think the two best teams made it to the Cup?
Yes.
Okay, so that's something to be said good for the way things worked out. Yet,
No, see, I don't think it's good that the two best teams make it to the Cup.
okay, you got to explain that.
Okay, so first of all, last year were the two best teams that made it to the Cup, right?
Okay,
Florida and Edmonton. Obviously, the best team won the Cup,
Yeah.
as Florida's going to probably do again.
okay,
The problem is when you have a Canadian team that is on the other side of the planet make it to the Cup,
okay,
and probably have, I'd say, less than a 40% chance of winning the Cup.
okay.
Because we talk about in the crease and we're talking about goaltending,
Yep,
right?
yep.
It would have been nice to have maybe Connor Hellebuck make it to the Cup, a great goaltender. Maybe the Ottinger from Dallas, who very good goaltender in that side of the conference. That would show a little bit more of like, hey, this guy carried the team on his back in an era that goaltending is more important now than it ever has been.
Yeah,
And when a team like Florida Panthers trade away a young first overall pick goalie to Chicago to secure them getting a veteran defenseman back for the Cup run.
mm-hmm.
And if you think about it this way, Florida did opposite of what Pittsburgh did when it was the Fleury Murray show. And look what happened to Florida. They're in back-to-back cups.
Yeah,
You know, I think it's not good for the NHL to have two of the best teams in there when you're starving for a fan base in Winnipeg that could really use making a Cup appearance.
so you're saying the Cup should be more to promote teams?
No,
or
I'm not
markets?
saying more promote teams, but I'm saying the NHL needs an underdog. You know, they're like the NFL. They want that parity. They you know what I mean? They want
I don't
as
know if
many
I agree
teams.
with
They
that.
want as many teams involved in the pie as they can get.
Yeah, I understand
And I think for
that.
the NHL, Bettman doesn't like Edmonton because they're a Canadian team.
Well, they made it to the Cup. How could he not like them?
Because, you know, they
I mean,
just
when
don't
you
do
look at who Florida went through, I mean, Tampa Bay was one of them. Tampa Bay was a pretty decent team this year, and they still have one of the
But
better
how-
goalies in the league.
how-
I mean, they went through, and they had a hell of a series with Toronto.
But how much head and shoulders is Florida's roster than anyone else in the NHL?
I understand that.
Look what
but
they did at the trade deadline.
but
Look
what
at
I'm
all
s-
the trades they made.
I
and
understand
they
that.
got better. They got harder to
Yes,
play against.
yes.
They can play physical,
Yes.
they can play fast,
Yes.
and they can put the puck in the net.
Which is
and
why-
they can keep the puck out of the net.
which
Even
is-
when Bobrovsky had a bad game, they still blew out the team.
That's right. That's why I said at the end of the trade deadline that Florida had made the best moves to repeat and go back to the Cup, and I stick by that statement.
And what
But
did Edmonton do?
went
They
through.
got a jabroni in that.
Yes,
They got a
they
guy that
do.
was sitting on the
And-
bench,
and
and he
as I
wouldn't
s-
have got in. He wouldn't have got in if it wasn't for the factor that their guy got injured.
As I said before, the Oilers will never win a cup with Skinner in net. He's not that good. And
I
we
don't
were
know.
talking before the camera started in the final game where the series was up against Dallas. He gave up one goal every 6 shots. That's horrible.
Yeah.
That's terrible for a pro goalie. Actually, I think they played better when they put Calvin Pritchard in
Yeah, I would agree.
than putting in
And
Skinner.
you think about it this, everyone says how great McDavid is,
well, you don't like him.
okay?
So
Draisaitl is as good as McDavid. And they have two elite players
They
on
do.
the offensive scheme of things.
they do.
Name their star defenseman.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah. Yeah. I
name
see
name
your
a star
point.
goalie.
They don't have a star goalie. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, so what do they get? They get a cup of coffee, or jockstrap cup. They don't get the Stanley Cup.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying, but they still had to go through enough teams to make it to the Cup final.
Listen, Dallas-
even with piss poor goaltending.
Dallas
they managed to eliminate those other teams, and you can't say that those other teams were all slackers. They got rid of some pretty decent teams.
They got rid of some okay teams.
Okay.
Everyone knows that the Florida side of the barn was a lot stronger coming
Well,
out.
That's true.
I mean,
That's
come
true.
on.
Florida did play the stronger
Except
teams.
you take away the semifinal games, and Carolina looks like a Stanley Cup contender. They were 0-17.
Yeah. Yeah,
in
I
a-
thought Carolina would look a lot better against
But
Florida than they
Brendan
did.
Moore's jinxed.
Yeah.
You get to the conference final, he can't
Yeah,
win a game.
He can't get past it. Yeah, that's true.
And poor Jordan Stahl
Yeah,
coughed
Big
up
Apple.
pucks that you never thought he would cough
the
up.
Big Apple.
Anderson all the way up to that
Yeah.
series looked like he was
brick
the
wall.
next coming of Ken Dryden in the playoffs.
Yeah, he looked good, and then whoops, there it is. You know, we were going to talk about this in a later block, but maybe since you mentioned it, we should bring it up now. And that is, we were talking before the cameras rolled. The NHL next season could see the return of Carter Hart. Now, good Lord knows, Bob and I have detailed this saga with Carter Hart and the Flyers. I think we covered it better than anybody else did, to
I
be
would
honest
agree.
with you. And now it looks like he may be back in the league next year. He is a free agent, and you were saying before we ran the cameras that he might actually end up in Edmonton.
Yeah, I would think that would be probably a great option for him.
So what are you hearing? What's going on?
What I heard was he's from that area.
Okay.
He's from Alberta. I don't know if the Flyers want to negotiate a contract with him, especially being out of the league for a whole year.
Okay.
Plus, I don't know that Philadelphia's looking like they want to add a player that has that black cloud over his head back into the organization, even though they're desperate for goaltending. I also don't know what type of coach Rick Tocchet would be to a guy like Carter Hart.
That's a big question.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I also heard rumblings that Philadelphia has inquired about a couple goalies. One happened to be on the same team that Rick Tocchet coached.
Thatcher Demko.
Yes.
Demko is not a bad goaltender, but he has had his ups and downs the last couple of seasons. 2 seasons ago, he was hurt and missed a big chunk of the season. He came back this season, looked strong, and then got hurt again. And we had talked on the show that he could be like a DiPietro Band-Aid goalie. And do you think Tocchet would want to invest in?
No.
I didn't think so.
I mean, especially on a team that's rebuilding.
Yeah.
Because the Flyers are definitely rebuilding. That's why they got Tocchet. He's good with the young players. He's good here. He's good there.
Yeah.
I really don't think that they want to put their toe in that cold water with Carter Hart.
So
And I'm also just in awe about how this court hearing is taking fold too.
yeah, you were a strong proponent for having these players banned.
Yeah,
Forever.
I just don't It's not just hockey though. Hockey's probably the least amount that this happens in. But
That's true.
professional athletes in general, I don't understand how they can think they can get away with stuff like this. No's no. And, anyone that would have a daughter, I think, would agree with me that this is not proper behavior, whether sometimes it's like Adam and Eve, she hands you the apple, you're going to take a bite out of it. There's a lot of variables that ended up into this case that I can't believe they're trying to sweep under the rug. First of all, you got underage drinking there. Second of all, when you're underage drinking and you're over the legal limit, which I'm sure that young lady was over the limit, you can't think properly. Therefore, you can't make very good decisions for yourself. Sometimes you're not going to make the same decision drunk as you would sober. So therefore, you're easily
we can all attest to that.
you're easily manipulated or easily being taken advantage of.
Sure.
And at that point, most of the people, and Carter Hart was the first one that was on the witness stand, and he said exactly what he said. And it's public note. You can go and look up exactly what he said.
Right.
And he doesn't paint a very good picture of this young lady. But it was after the fact, after he left, what really went down. But the defense attorneys are not attacking after Carter Hart left, where when all this other bad stuff went down.
So are you happy, indifferent, or pissed off that he could return to the league?
I mean, I think if he's proven innocent, he should be able to return to the league because that's his livelihood. That's how the kid makes his money.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I don't know if this is a thing that the Canadian government is so embarrassed on. And I have talked about, well, you know, we're at war. You know, Russia's at war, and they're not allowed to participate in the Olympics.
Yeah.
But yet, Team Canada's players were accused of raping a young lady, and they're allowed to participate in any event possible. What's the difference? You might not be killing people, but you're killing mentally people.
Yeah, I understand your point.
I mean, you know, do we have ethics here? Like what is going on? It's good for one group. It's not good for the other group.
Yeah.
Now, again, if they're proven innocent, then they're proven innocent. But I can't believe with all the information that
Do you think it's the fix is in to get them all off?
I think it could be.
Interesting.
And again, I believe if you make a mistake, you should be not only held accountable for your mistake, but I also think you can turn the corner and make it better.
Sure.
You know, I mean, I think everyone deserves a second chance. I'm not a big, you know, I'm a big strike three person. And you know, I believe that if they get off, that's strike two on these players.
Yeah.
And I would say a next action that they would do, I would, if I was commissioner, I would not tolerate it. Because to me, it was bad enough you embarrass your country, bad enough you embarrass your last name.
Sure.
That your parents probably told you, hey.
Keep your nose clean.
Correct.
Yeah.
Now third strike, I'm sorry, you had to, you know, like a cat with 9 lives, you had 8 lives now. I'm not a, you know, and you know, we'll see what happens, but you know, if he does play, I don't see him playing in Philly.
Well, it'll be interesting to see. I know that certainly this court hanging over his head affected his play, so if he does manage to be innocent and come back, it'll be interesting to see how he plays. Let's bounce again. I know we're all over the script here, but let's go back. We were talking about the teams that made the Cup finals and if the 2 best teams made it. You said yes, but you had some trepidations about it. So there are talks that when the governors meet and they have their off-season meetings, that they may want to change the playoff system. What do you think about changing the system, and do you have you heard anything about how they might change it?
See, it's all hit or miss. It's a lot of gray areas. Like to me, I think too many teams make the playoffs.
Okay.
I think it's too watered down.
Okay.
That's just my opinion.
So how many teams should make it? Just 8?
I think 8.
Top 8 teams.
Top 8 teams. And I wouldn't care if you won the division or didn't win the division.
So are you saying the top 8 teams in the league, or the top 4 in one conference and the top 4 in another?
Top 8.
Top 8 through the whole league.
Through the whole league.
Now, see, I like that idea, and I've said that from the get-go, that even when they use the 16 teams, it should be the top 16 teams, regardless of division.
And if you want to take it one step forward, you could add 2 wild card teams to this mix.
So there would be 10.
Just hypothetically, and you
top
could
2 get a bye.
Top 2 get a bye. If you wanted to play that trump card, if you wanted to promote, because to me, there's no reason to win the President's Trophy.
Was that a political statement? You're playing a trump card here.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, there's no reason. To win the President's Trophy.
If you're a top team, do you want to buy, or do you want to be hot going in?
You don't want the buy.
So
but sometimes, again, I like underdogs. You know, and throw maybe 1 or 2 wild card teams in there.
Yeah.
Because you know, teams are going to complain. Like if you're in a soft conference, like and you have no teams in your division, and you're beating up on those teams.
Yeah.
And you might have a slightly above 500 record. You're going to make the playoffs because you won your division. That's BS.
Yeah.
You're terrible.
Yeah.
You know, like say for example,
Well, that happens in football.
yeah, it
and,
happens
yeah,
all
the
over
sports.
sports.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think the best eight, and leave it at that. Because you want the
Regardless
best
of conference.
Yes, you want the best of the best.
Yeah. Yeah. But see, you said we have the best of the best, and you're still pissed. So
Yeah.
so,
Because I want the best of the best, where I don't want a game to be blown out. I want it like a nail biter.
Sure.
I want two great goaltenders have a chance of winning a Stanley Cup, not a jabroni and an elite guy.
Yeah. And you don't want an 8-6 game either. That's
No,
not. Yeah,
no.
I understand. I understand completely.
I
Hey,
want to see great saves. I want to see great goals.
Yeah. We were talking earlier about goaltenders and specifically Carter Hart. Let's bring up another one now. Let's bring up Jeremy Swayman. You know, the interwebs went nuts after the Bruins were eliminated from the playoffs this year, and they pretty soundly
Were they even in the
Pinned.
playoffs?
no, they pinned pretty solidly on two people. Well, first off, there was a lot of smack talk on Don Sweeney, as their leader in chief. But a lot of the criticism fell on the goaltender, Jeremy Swayman. And people were saying, you know, he got the big money and now he's not playing right. His head's not in the game.
He didn't have
yada,
Omar
yada.
to bail him out.
Well, you know, then what happens is the Bruins are knocked out and we go to the World Cup. And Swayman's the goaltender for the American team in the World
Is
Cup.
that real hockey, though?
And they win the World Cup, and he does it in a way. I think the final was against Sweden, was it not, or was it Finland?
It was
Sweden.
Denmark.
Denmark?
think it
No,
was
I think it was Sweden or Finland. But anyway,
It wasn't Finland.
it was then it was Sweden. It was the championship game for the gold medal or whatever it is they give out, and he pitches a 1-0 shutout and looks absolutely phenomenal. And now it comes back to here's a guy that was on the trading block, and the team was looking to move him. He has this stellar performance in the World Cup. And yeah, it's legit. I mean, you had Crosby there, you had Fleury, you had big names there.
Wait,
That's-
it was legit?
yeah,
You
it was
watched
all
it?
legit. Yeah, it was fun.
Wow.
So what do you do
so
now?
My, my neighbors have a street hockey game going on in the middle of the street.
And
at
you
about-
like that better?
About 12 o'clock this afternoon. You want to come over and have a couple Pepsis and we can watch them play?
I thought you were going to say put the pads on and get back in net.
because that to me is like the goodwill of Kaufman's or Horns or Macy's.
Oh, geez, you're
that
going
tournament.
back.
That tournament.
Yeah. Well, the players seem to have a good time. I thought there was some pretty decent. The championship game I thought was good.
That's like the
and I
NIT
thought it
in
was funny as
basketball.
hell that Canada got smacked. I mean, they
Well, who played goal?
they went into that
Who
with
played
all
goal?
this big
Who
ta-da
played
ta-da.
goal in who played goal in the last game? It wasn't Fleury.
No.
It's Billy Goat for the Blues.
Yeah.
Why?
Well.
Why?
Are you saying that Fleury would have outplayed Binnington?
He wouldn't have gave up that soft goal that cost him the game.
Okay. That's speculation, but okay.
That's fact. That ain't fiction, buddy.
Yeah.
He don't blow the game until they get to the finals.
Yeah.
Remember when he?
Well, yeah. That's true. That's true. Okay. All right. So I'll go with that. So let's get back to Swayman again.
So that
what do you
gold
do
medal,
now?
that
Let's
gold
put
medal.
you in the GM cap now.
well, here's the
what
funny
do you do
thing.
with Swayman?
Well, you got to
keep
keep
him?
him. You have to keep him
Why do you have to?
because you don't have another goalie in the system. You see who the backup was.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Okay, so
But aren't they in the market for one? Didn't they pick up a couple goalies in the draft?
yeah, just because you pick up an 18-year-old kid
You're
that
not
won't be
gonna-
ready to play for another 2 or 3 years.
So you wouldn't swap Swayman out for another
Well, who?
goalie?
Who?
Oh, whoever's available.
I mean,
you know,
the
you're
only
not
guy
still
I
looking
want
to
is
trade
he's
him?
37 years old, and
Yeah.
I don't want a 37-year-old goalie.
I got you.
And you're not going to get Connor Hellebuck.
Yeah.
You don't want Vasilevsky. He's on the downside of his career.
Yeah.
Ottinger might be available because him and the coach, he has to be traded.
Yeah.
But you're going to trade one American-born for another American-born?
Oh, you think it has something to do with being born in America?
I'm just saying.
So you're saying Boston needs a Canadian goalie?
No, I'm saying
You sound like Don Cherry
it's
now.
not. I'm saying it's not going to happen. They're not
Okay.
going to trade him.
Okay.
And here's a great fact.
And you think he'll still play okay for Boston, or do you think he wants to get out of there?
Well, I think Boston pretty much blew up their team.
Well, they did.
And if I'm him,
I said that
you're
after the
stuck,
trade
you're stuck
deadline.
with him because of salary. You got to move salary.
Yeah.
And if you're moving salary, you're going to not get what you want.
Yeah.
I don't care if he won a gold medal in a tournament that USA hasn't won a gold medal in that tournament in 92 years.
Right.
92 years.
So that's,
And you're telling me this
that's
is
a
big
bigger
deal.
feather in his cap.
You're telling me this is a big
Hell
deal.
yeah. You go that long without it.
Listen, Jonathan Quick would have won that game. John Van Beesbrook would have won that game. Being retired all those years. Tom Barrasso would have won that game. He saw very little shots. Big ice surface.
So
He
now
saw
it's
very
coming
little.
down to that. Huh? Wow.
Just saying.
Geez, you're hard. You're hard.
Just saying.
All right, another thing that the general managers and the coaches are talking about this year is something that I have been, on the side of for years and years. I never liked the change, but they're talking about going back to home whites for the league, and this could take effect as early as the season coming up. So, your opinion on home whites, and should we go back to it?
I don't care.
Oh.
They pissed me off when they changed
Those are
it.
words I never expect to hear
Listen,
from you.
They pissed me off when they changed it the first time.
Me too.
Okay? So, I don't care. Just, you know what? Let's get rid of Fanatic because their jerseys are the worst jerseys. I collect jerseys.
You do.
I have a ton of them.
You do.
And the
You
quality
got
of
to
the
see
jersey.
Bob's place. I mean, he has one room in his entire house that is it's jerseys. That's it's amazing.
So, it upsets me that they changed.
yes,
First
agree.
and foremost. But now you go to a game, they have a third jersey. They have a specialty jersey.
they do.
They have this jersey. They have a practice warm-up jersey now.
Now this is a practice jersey for Tampa Bay. Yeah.
So they have all these jerseys now.
Yeah.
So let's not worry about what colors are. Let's just make them better. Let's make them better looking. Like that Utah jersey. Who designed that jersey?
The Mammoth.
Yes.
That's coming out?
Who designed? No, the home jersey with Utah again. Who designed that?
Somebody who I guess wants
Stevie
everybody
Wonder?
to know how to spell Utah.
Stevie Wonder designed that.
Yeah.
That is as vanilla comes.
Yeah. Well, it's like when Carolina has that Canes written down. That's stupid too.
Yeah.
I like it better
Pittsburgh
when
with
they.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I know we play in Pittsburgh. I don't need the name on it.
Yeah.
The only team that should have that jersey is the Rangers.
And
Original six.
They had
That's
it from
classic.
the get-go.
Correct.
Yes.
Other than that, and I mean, I still don't understand. They had the big bear on the Bruins shirt, the third jersey, and then obviously their original
Six.
team too.
Yeah.
And they went back to their old pinwheel logo with the B in the middle, which really stands for Bobby Orr. People don't
believe
realize
that.
that. Bobby Orr, But because you got the B and the O.
Yeah, right.
Bobby Orr, one of the greatest hockey players ever played.
Yes, some will argue the best.
Yes, and they wouldn't be wrong.
That's right.
But anyways, I just don't care anymore.
Yeah.
Because Fanatic really ruined my taste for jerseys. They're
Well, who
so
would you
ugly.
like to see get them?
Anybody but them. They're ruined. They're so cheap and they're so overpriced, and they fall apart and they're too tight.
Yeah. And you could take it from Bob. I mean, that's his business. He knows, how they were. I know this. I know that when the NHL had home whites, they were the only league that really did that, and it set them apart. And once again, it changed when Bettman came in, and Bettman's goal was always to try to conform the NHL into what the other leagues were doing. He got rid of everything that set the hockey league apart from the other leagues.
You know what it used to
And
be in
that's what the-
baseball? Seriously? The start in '79, the Pittsburgh Pirates, their
Yes.
head coach, Chuck Tanner, you know how he would pick the jerseys? Because they used to have 4 different jerseys. The starting pitcher for that game would pick the uniform.
Well, that's not bad. That's nice.
Let's have the goalie pick the uniform.
Yeah, pick the starting goalie.
And you know what every goalie would want? the home team, they'd want to wear white
Yeah.
because it's easy to pick the puck off their body so they can see the rebounds.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
me, I always like go dark
Hmm.
for a lot of reasons, especially if I played on a team that had a black jersey.
Yeah.
Because, okay, it might hide the puck from my visibility, but I can still feel it. It's definitely going to hide the puck from a forward.
Gotcha. But when the league had home whites, if you go back, Google and
Yeah.
go back,
The good old days.
the white jerseys were sharp. There was a lot of intricate little
Correct.
patterns, and they were predominantly white, but man, they looked really great. Now the white jerseys are it's a white shirt with a logo slapped on it. There's no care or anything
No
put into
character,
it.
no stripe pattern, no
I
creative.
think it would be great just to go back to the white jerseys, home whites, and I don't know. I'm not going to say I don't care. I do care.
Sorry.
I think we should go.
Sorry,
We should go back to the home whites.
And then the one year they flipped them. Halfway through the season, they reversed them, so everyone got to see the jerseys home and away.
Yeah. Nah.
If you want to see the jersey, go to the pro shop
Yeah.
and buy a jersey.
Yeah. You can see the jersey when you watch the team on TV.
Yes.
The away game.
Yeah.
Home whites are good. I think they're worthwhile, and I think that would increase sales of white jerseys. Otherwise, who the hell buys white jerseys?
No one buys white jerseys.
No, but they would if they were the home jerseys.
Yeah, because fans want to wear the white to the home game.
There you go. Hey, let's one more topic in here before we fast run out of time, and that is we've seen some coaching changes already. Coaches are on the move. Coaches are talking. Your thoughts on what's happening with coaches?
Well, I still hear a big rumor that the Penguins are looking at that Mitch Love.
Well, you like that guy, though, didn't you?
Yeah, because I think he's not a very good coach. I'd love to see him end up in Pittsburgh and destroy the organization.
Well, who was the guy you wanted them to pick up?
I think the Hershey Bear coach.
Oh.
I think his last name is Jones.
Ah,
I think Todd Jones is his name.
but you don't think he'll get it.
No, I don't think he wants.
So why do they want Love in? He's, what's his name's boy, isn't
Yeah,
he?
yeah.
And you think he's coming in?
Yeah.
Yeah. You got into a pretty heated argument online with
It
one of
wasn't
our
a heat-
fans.
It wasn't a heated
Oh,
argument.
I thought it was a pretty good. He stayed with you as much as I could, and
Yeah.
he seemed to think that everything was fine with the organization, and that bringing somebody like Love in would be
Yeah, well,
a good thing.
typical Penguin fan drinking their own Kool-Aid.
Yeah, he
I
didn't
mean,
like
to be
Sullivan.
honest with you, when they got rid of Sullivan,
Yeah,
they took all their chances of making the playoffs and they threw it out the door. And you see how long it took him to find another job.
yeah, overnight.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and he could have probably had the Boston job if he would have waited a couple more minutes.
Hmm.
But I think he didn't want to go back to Boston and put a little bit more pressure on him. Hometown cooking and things of that nature might be hard to concentrate because you have so much more you have to do because he's from that area. He
yeah,
went
but
to
I think
school
he's
there.
got more to deal with in New York. He's
I-
got a
I-
better
listen,
team, don't you think?
He's very structured, very organized. He's a very good coach.
Hmm.
Very good. I was glad to see him walk out of Pittsburgh
Hmm.
because that meant they have no chance. If they didn't have a chance with him in Pittsburgh the last 3 years of making the play, they definitely don't have a chance without him. Because
Well,
he is much going to be much more lost than the GM. Your GM is horrible in Pittsburgh. Cal is not a very good GM. Look at how all that talent he had up in Toronto.
yeah,
What's the one thing he's known for? He can't find goaltending. He
Yeah.
overpaid for Jari. You're stuck with him now. Can't find goalies.
yeah.
They had a guy ripping up through the minor leagues, the young Russian full right
Yeah.
kid. They wouldn't even give him a little cup of coffee at the end of the season.
Yeah, that's true.
They
We
ruined
talked about
Bloomquist
that.
already.
Yeah,
Nadalkovich, he's terrible in Columbus and terrible where else? Detroit?
yeah.
And his stats were no better, no worse than Jari, but yet everyone in Pittsburgh wanted him to play goal.
Yeah. Well, our apologies to Josh. If you are not on the In the Crease Facebook page, you need to go on there and join up right now so that you get in some of these. But Bob and Josh had a pretty good clash there. I enjoyed reading it. It was a lot of fun. As we said, the first game of the Cup has not started yet. Enjoy the Cup. Enjoy the final series. And Bob and I will stay in touch on the socials in the off season, and we'll see you next season. So remember, when it comes down to hockey, if you're in the game, you're in the crease.